Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Welcome back to Nikāya study. Yeah, we have been studying several weeks already, and also it's almost finished the first book of Nikāya. So they mainly mention about the threefold training starting from the training or morality, sila. So that is the reason it is called the first book of Nikāya as Sila Khandavaka. Okay, so this is number 9 sutta, Putthapada Sutta. Here the Putthapada Sutta. We will study this Putthapada Sutta, but this sutta is pretty long, so we need to divide it into parts. I think we need to divide it into 3 parts. So before we study the teaching in detail, let's review a little bit how the Buddha taught this sutta and what are the teaching inside. So for the first time, we will see the Buddha's visit to Putthapada. So there Putthapada was staying nearby the Buddha's residence. Then the Buddha visited to the Putthapada, and at that time, in the question, the Putthapada asked the question related to the higher extinction or cessation of consciousness, especially this come by the name of sanya. So sanya, the word sanya, normally translated as perception. So when here regular translation or normal translation for the word sanya is perception. But in this sutta, this sanya does not specifically refers to the mental fetters of perception. So it refers to the group of mentalities led by the perception and consciousness, especially consciousness. So when the perception arises with the consciousness is the leader of the mentalities. Then perception is one of the mental fetters that arise with consciousness. So in this case, for those who have studied Abhidhamma, it is easy to understand, although we talk about the sanya by the name, the consciousness is the leader. Then also why the perception is named is the perception mostly considered as the prominent mental fetters among the other mental fetters arise with the consciousness. So in this sutta, the name comes with the sanya, abhisanya, nirodha. So nirodha is extinction. The sanya, although is named as sanya and regular translation perception, but here the translators use the consciousness, the word consciousness. Normally this consciousness is for citta. But although the word sanya is described in the question and throughout the sutta, the translation will be keeping on the word consciousness, normally refers to the citta. Okay, so in this case, you should not be confused. Extension of the consciousness. On the other way, if we say about the extension of the perception, it is the same, because whenever consciousness arises, perception come together. Without the perception, there's no consciousness arise. And also, without the consciousness, citta, there's no perception, sanya. So we should understand the extension of consciousness can express the same meaning of the extension of perception because they arise together. So here the Wanderer Buddhapada asked the question about the higher extension of consciousness. We will see later what is the question and how it's come, and what is the Buddha's answer. Then later on, he keep asking based on the former question. He asked the follow-up question that does perception arise before knowledge, or knowledge arise before perception, or both arise simultaneously? So this is the follow-up question, because after the Buddha explained about the extension of consciousness, this is not completely, ultimately extension. This is extension of consciousness temporarily. That's why if the consciousness seeks or seeks for temporary sudden moment, there's an arising, re-arising of the perception of the knowledge. So when the mentality arises, which one of perception or knowledge arise first, or both of them arise together? And he asked the follow-up question. We will see today's lesson, these two questions. And later, the Buddhapada continue asking about is perception a person's self. So here, as I mentioned, the perception of sanya referring to the mentalities. So the mentalities of consciousness, same as the self, or the different. His question is, perception is one thing and self is another. I mean, perception or the mentalities and self are different. This question is after these two questions, and he moved to this kind of their fear. I mean, talking about their self is their interest. The wanderers or the other traditional religious practice, they like to talk about self. But for Buddhism, the Buddha emphasized in non-self, not talking about the self. But he draw the attention and the discussion to their field of the view, the self, related to the self. Then after that, he keep asking about the 10 questions. 10 questions. So, and these 10 questions appear throughout the Pāļi Canon several times, but the Buddha never discussed about them. Here in this sutta, and the Buddha mentioned pretty much about these questions, these 10 questions. Normally we say that unanswered question. The Buddha didn't answer about them. And also we mentioned why the Buddha didn't answer this question. And some scholars they developed their idea concerning about the reason why the Buddha didn't answer this question. And some assume because the Buddha did not know, or like this, but for Buddhist follower, they believe Buddha already know, and following this sutta explanation, and Buddha have a certain reason not discussing on these 10 questions. Okay, we will see later. And what kind of question are not answered by the Buddha is the world eternal or not eternal? So this is an endless question, or we can argue without end, without evidence. And yeah, so the Buddha avoided, we will see it later. Then when after this discussion finished and the Buddha went back and the Buddha was reproaches or the blame by his fellow wanderers, because he appreciated the Buddha's answer, he rejoiced the Buddha's answer. Although here you see the Buddha did not discuss about this question, but the Buddha gave the answer for the higher extinction of consciousness. Then later on, the Buddha again visit to the Buddha with his friend Chitta, with son of the elephant trainer, because during that time there are several people named as Chitta. That's why in order to identify which Chitta refers to, and the one come, the son of the elephant trainer, he is the one. And when they come to visit, and another issue discussed, the ascetics and Brahmin who declare belief that after death, self is entirely happy and free from disease, like this. So, talking about this, and the Buddha mentioned that these kind of the question, these kind of discussion are not really proper way, because they don't know, and they don't know exactly what is going to be after death exactly. So, and given this question, given the example about these question and answer, their claim and their declaration and belief. So first example is about the Janavara Kalyani Upama. So this is the talking about the most beautiful God in the land. So given this example, and another example is Neseni Upama. That is talking about the staircase. What are the examples we will see? And it is interesting, also very good example to let them, the religious or philosopher, to be aware of their view, how they formulate, and based on what they formulate their religious view or philosophical theory. We have to understand that before we follow such kind of religious view or theory. And this sutta is good to read it before we make it. Such kind of religious view or the philosophical theory. Then also the Buddha talking about the three kinds of acquired atta. So here atta also is called the atta. Actually, it refers to their aggregates or life itself. The both translate as the self, because the Buddha did not refer to the self by the word atta, although this atta is used to describe it in different realities according to the other religious practitioner, such like the Buddha when they they talk about the Adda, they refers to the everlasting self. But here in this case, the Buddha used this word Adda, but not refers to the everlasting self, because the Buddha himself already rejected the existence of self. So the Buddha will not mention about the acquired self, his acquired self. So here, Adda refers to the gain in aggregate. So having aggregate or having any kinds of life or existence. And so we will see what are the three kinds later. Okay, so this is the brief introduction about the Buddhapada Sutta. Okay, let's start our today's study about the Sutta inside. So the Sutta happened, this is the introduction of the Sutta. It happened while the Buddha was staying in Savatthi. Savatthi is one of the cities, a very big city at that time. And in Jeta's group, there's also a very famous monastery of the Buddha. So Anathapindika is Jetavana temple. Then at that time, the wanderer Buddhapada, he was residing in the single hall park of Malika. So Queen Malika belonged to that park. So it has a single hall, one hall only. That's why the park is named as the Ekasala. And he resided there, the debating hall. There's debating hall, and this seems to be pretty large hall, so that it can reside with the 300 wanderers together at the same time, and they were living there. Then the Buddha is normally go into the Savatthi for alms round, but one day, in that day, the Buddha come early. So considering that this is too early, and so it's better to go somewhere before going alms round early. And he decided to go to debating hall and to visit to the Buddhapada and his friends, the wanderers. And here what happened is during that time, because the Buddhapada and his fellow wanderers were sitting, because this is a morning time, the early morning, they woke up and they were discussing whatever they are interested in. So this is a regular conversation for them, but it is very kind and undefined conversation. So here we call the Tirichana Gatha. So Tirichana Gatha. And what is Tirichana? Actually, in Pāļi word, Tirichana describes animals. So if we translate directly, Gatha is conversation. So animals conversation, talk about animals. Actually, this is from dictionary. So I have taken this definition from dictionary. But if we translate following the Pāļi word construction according to the Pāļi grammar, and we understand that animal talks or animal conversation like this. So if we translate in meaning, so to give a meaning, childish talk, something, the conversation of the immature people, the child, they're talking here and there in this way. And also here, for more definition, the useless words, or there's something not reaching heaven, not talking about the reaching heaven or reaching Nibbana. This means the conversation does not lead to reborn in heaven or to reborn or to attain the Nibbana. Or such kind of conversations are called by the name of Tiricana Gatha. So let's see what kind of words. Here, they are talking about kin of the, that time, Bimbisara or Kosala or like this. But they are talking about the kins, information about the kin. Such kind of word is considered as the Tiricana Gatha because that kind of conversation cannot lead you to be born in the heaven or to attain the Nibbana. And talking about the robots, so the robots do something like this or that, or is possible to come in or like this. They are talking about the robots and minister, armies, dangers, and wars like this. So altogether, 27 kinds. 27 kinds of conversations are regarded as Tiricana Gatha. Tiricana Gatha. So it is not just talking about the animal and not the talking about the animal because for animal, if we enlarge a little bit about the wall, so Tiricana is mostly the animal or walking across their back, pin their back to the sky. It means like the across the the north facing toward the sky, like this. So their way is not reaching to going up, especially for four legs animal like this. And that's why during that time, they are considered something not leading to the higher destination or higher stages, and they're considered as just like a Tiricana. And the conversation is also paying their back, not their face, to the heaven or Nibbana. Such kind of words, such kind of conversation are considered as Tiricana Gatha. Okay, so here talking about the king or minister or robber, whatever reason, for political affairs, something like this, they can discuss and they can gain some benefits, but these benefits are not leading to be in heaven or to attain the Nibbana, and that is why these all are included under the category of Tiricana Gatha. And from the religious perspectives, these are useless word or childish talk. If we just talk or if we spend our time for such kind of conversation, it is a big loss from religious standpoint. Okay, so you can see what kind of talk or considers a Tiricana Gatha and how many hours we use or you use your time in daily life talking about them. And sometimes, and not for exchanging the information with the solid purpose, and the people just they talk about these 27 kinds of conversation because they enjoy for entertain themselves. In order to entertain themselves, they're just talking about the king or president. They're just talking about the robber or minister or sometimes food or drinks, etc. And perfume relatives, and also talking about the village. And now if you watch or explore YouTube, many information, endless information, you can get it. But if you just enjoy them, you have no time to practice, no time to learn more about the teaching. So this kind of expression remind us how to manage our time. So we should spend our time. We should not waste our time. If something is useful here, talking about the village and town, sometimes useful. If you are talking about this village or town or the way, the streets or road, and with the purpose, you are going there, or you need to use this information, or you need to share this information with the others. It is okay, it is good, or we can say the beneficial in daily life. But sometimes talking, the conversation is just for entertainment, just to entertain ourselves. It is endless, endless. That's why we have to remind ourselves not to waste our time. Here, even talking about the departed people, or departed relatives, or parents, or the grandparents, like this. Sometimes, if we talk about our departed or late relatives, is recollecting in their gratitude and their honors to describe, or their and they say knowledge that dedicated to us and shared to us. And if we are talking about this, it is okay. It encourages us to accumulate the knowledge and to pay back their gratitude. But sometimes, just feeling something missing, or I just want to talk, to elaborate the kind of talking, and this is endless. It is we cannot find the end. Then also talking about the land, or talking about the sea. Okay, so these 27 are considered as the childish talk, or useless words from the religious perspective. But if you need to talk such kind of word for your daily life benefits, it's okay, you should do. So we are not objecting about that. But or spending our time much in that case will be a big waste of our life. Then the wanderers are talking. And during that time, the Buddha coming. Then the Buddha saw when Buddha was coming from distance. Then he wanted his fellow wanderers, hey, be quiet, don't make noise anymore, because ascetic Gautama is coming. Also, he does not, or he did not, when the Buddha looked down, his group, his community, if the Buddha here, they are talking in this way here and there, just the useless word, spending their time. The Buddha, being from the other religious side, from the Buddha can despise or disdain into that community. That's why he reminds his friends, okay, be quiet, because the ascetic Gautama, he lies quiet, and also speak in praise of quiet. The Buddha, for himself, he preferred to live in quiet place, and also he always praise and appreciate about the quiet, being quiet. So no silence, like this. And in this wall, from the wall of Buddha, we can learn what the Buddha are like. But sometimes, if we celebrate the big celebration, we have to be careful about the Buddha's preference. Or if we do in this way, the Buddha will praise, or the Buddha will blame. So if we are noisy, So maybe the Buddha were not present, Buddha were criticized. So we should maintain the quiet. We should keep quiet, quietude of the life, quietude of the place. And through that, and we should find the quietude of the mind. So this nature of the Buddha is already well known to other religious community as well. So when the Buddha came to visit their place, the Buddha reminded to be quiet because the ascetic Gautama prefer the quiet. So if you guys are keeping quiet, not making noisy, and he will come to visit us. I mean, if very noisy, and Buddha will turn back and not visiting to them. Here, a visiting of the Buddha is, their honors. They like to welcome because, for other religious people, when the Buddha visit and later on, they announce, sometimes, they describe in some way, sometimes correct and sometimes not correct, because they want to find their honors. Okay, you see even the ascetic Gautama come to us, and he come and ask a question because we know better than he do. Otherwise, we have to go to him like this. That's why the visit of the Buddha to them is their benefits. Okay, so he welcomed to the Buddha. It's good, and then he gave a seat. And for himself, the Buddha have respect to the Buddha. That's why he gave the proper place to the Buddha, and he took himself in the lower stage or lower seat of the Buddha. Then at that time, the Buddha asked the question, what are they talking about? And the conversation before the Buddha come in. Then the Buddha actually, he didn't know when to disclose this kind of conversation they are having. And that's why he said, oh, never mind, it's not important. Or later on, whenever you come and you can listen what we are talking about. And he put aside. Then he lead the conversation to the certain aspects because he didn't like the Buddha to look down on their community. So what happened is the past few days he has learned something, a discussion of the other ascetics and Brahmin from different schools. From different schools, they come together in debating hall. They are living. So debating hall, the ascetics and Brahmin of various schools come into the debating hall, and the conversation they are interested in and they were discussing is about the higher extinction of consciousness. Abhisanya Niroda. This is the original word in the text. So it has been discussed among the ascetics and Brahmin. So here, the ascetics are religious practitioners, and here Brahmin are mostly scholars. So these two groups come together and discuss on the same topic. It is interesting. Okay, so in this case, some religious practitioner and scholars, they explain and the extinction of the consciousness in this way. So altogether, 4 ways they explain, 4 groups. The first group explained that without cause and condition, the perception, as I mentioned, that the mentalities or consciousness, citta, arise and cease. According to the first group, there's no reason. There's no certain condition to give a rise to consciousness or to seek to give cessation of the consciousness. So without cause and condition, the consciousness or perception come to be and passed away. So when it comes to be and arise, we say that the person is conscious. And when the mentality ceases, and we say that person is unconscious. So in this way, some religious practitioner and scholar, they believe about their extinction of consciousness during the lifetime. Oh, we have no cause and condition to show, to identify, because without cause and condition, the consciousness arise and passed away. The second group rejected that view. Oh, it's not true. Actually, the perception or mentalities arise to the person itself. So it depends on the self. When the self arrives, the perception arrives. And when the self gone, there's no more perception, no more mentalities according to them. So they just discuss in this way. So talking about the self, depends on the self. If self come into and the person is being conscious, and if the self go out, no more conscious. This is second group. And the third group discuss on the powerful ascetics and Brahmins. So because they have sinned, and some ascetics and Brahmins are very powerful, they can make anybody to be conscious or to be unconscious. That's why, according to them, and the powerful ascetics and Brahmin and draw down the consciousness into the man or withdraw. So they are managing about the consciousness for the third group. And for the fourth group, the work of deities, when the deities, the powerful deities, he make the person, they put into the person, the consciousness into that person, he is conscious. And if they draw out, and the person is no more conscious. In this way, four groups are discussing in debating hall about the temporary extinction of the consciousness or temporary extinction of the perception or mentalities. Because they see some people are not being conscious and they live some period of time, some certain period of time, and later on they come to conscious again. So unconscious and conscious again. So depending on their understanding, four group of ascetics and Brahmins were discussing. So some days ago, then Buddha was listening in that audience and debating hall, but he did not satisfy with any of these assumptions or that these view. Then, and at the time, Buddha say the connection that I thought about the law. So although I was listening about their explanation, my mind go to the Buddha. To the Buddha, I recollect the Buddha, or it would be, if the Buddha here, blessed law refers to the Buddha. If the Buddha was here, he can exactly point out what is that. So he expect the Buddha to be there, but the Buddha was not there. And then, so when he meet the Buddha now, and he asked the question, so the Buddha, then what is the higher extension of the consciousness? Remember this extension of the consciousness does not refer to the completely extension of the consciousness. This refers to the temporary extension of consciousness according to their discussion. So the Buddha will answer, but before the Buddha give his answer, he just point out the first group, according to you, the first group mentioned the arising and ceasing of the consciousness or perception happen without cause and condition. So their view is totally wrong, the Buddha says. So the Buddha emphasized, although the other view also not completely correct, but the first one is totally wrong. That's why Buddha mentioned. And because the other three, sometimes it really happened. It really happened. But for the first group, it is totally wrong. So here, the Buddha question and answer for himself. Once perception arises and ceases according to the cause and condition, this is reality. That's why the first group, or the view of first group, it is totally wrong, because they say without cause and condition. Because here, in reality, due to the cause and condition, the perception arises and perception ceases. So Buddha briefly mentioned that some perception arise through training, and also some perception pass away through training. This is the brief explanation. Okay, let's see the complete explanation about the arising and cessation of the perception through training. And Buddha started as usual in other sutta. The Tathagata arise in this world, and having gained the saddha and listen the Dhamma and start practicing morality, moral precept. Then keep going, practicing concentration. And during this stages of concentration, practice of concentration, some perception arise and some perception cease. So before we learn about the arising and cessation of perception through the training, and I would like to mention about the successive attainment. Okay, so let's see. At the beginning, before we meditate or before we practice or before we attain any stage of concentration level, that we have a karma sanya. The karma sanya is the perception or the consciousness related to the object of five sense, five sense door. You see, the visible form through the eye door, or sound through the ear door, the smell through the nose door, and taste through the tongue door, and tangible object through the touching of body consciousness. We know these perception or these consciousness are called karma sanya. In order to give rise to karma sanya, is not necessary to practice anything, any kind of practice. In daily life, in common life, it always arises and passes away. Then, when one practices concentration meditation and successful to attain the first jhana, the first jhana, that first jhana is described as the viveka. Viveka, it means it arrives the stage of concentration that arises due to the seclusion, and also piti sukha. The piti sukha is the joyful feeling and happiness there in that stage. And sukkuma satya sanya. So sukkuma is subtle. So subtler than the karma sanya, this one. So all considered as a sukkuma, because compared to the former one, the later one is subtler, sukkuma sanya. So this consciousness of first jhana described very long word. Yes, long word. But if we understand, okay, this refers to the first jhana, sanya or first jhana consciousness, it is good. And the second jhana, if continue practicing and the samadhi, so the other word say only change vivekaja to samadhi, because second jhana is considered as the point of concentration. The silent state point of concentration, not only the seclusion. Seclusion cannot give rise to the second jhana. Through the seclusion, the first jhana arises. Through the first jhana concentration, the second jhana arises. Then ubekha sukha, sukkuma satya sanya is for third jhana. And for the fourth jhana, adukha masukha, adukha is no painful feeling, asukha is no happiness. Then after that, these are four material jhana, the five material jhana, and the other four immaterial jhana. So if you have studied Abhidhamma, this is very easy to understand and remember. But the first one, Akasana Jayarana, this is considered as the first Arupa jhana. So you should not misunderstand the first jhana. Here, first Arupa jhana. Here, the former four jhana are Rupa jhana, we call. It related to the five materialities. Stage still have the materiality. But in this case, no material, so immaterial jhana. And Vijnananjayatana is second Arupa jhana. Akinchanyayatana is third Arupa jhana. And here are Tajiva Sanya Nirojati and Anyaja Olarika Sanya Naubachandi. It means that state refers to the fourth Arupa jhana and the succession, and continue to the succession. Okay, so keeping in mind this information, and let's see how the Buddha answer. And here, remember the brief explanation is some perception arises through training and some perception passed away through training. So let's see, for the attainment of first jhana, when he started to practice concentration meditation and the concentration come to be in silent state of first jhana. So he remained in the first jhana stage, his mind. Then at that time, the sensation or love is called the kama sanya, or sensation, or here, the consciousness or perception related to the five sense door, they cease, so they disappear at the arising of first jhana. So in this case, through the training, the first jhana, we call this vivekaja, piti sukha, etc. Yes, such a perception or delight and happiness, born or detachment. As I mentioned, this refers to the arising of first jhana, the consciousness of first jhana arises. So this first jhana arises through the training. So the practice is cause and condition to give a rise to the first jhana consciousness or first jhana perception. Then the experience of kama sanya, the experience of the sensation or lust or the perception or consciousness related to the five sense door. This sensation come through the training. Without training, they will keep arising. They will not disappear. And without training, the first jhana consciousness will not arise. That's why we can say that training is cause and condition to arise first jhana and to disappear or to pass away kama sanya. So by seeing this case, the first group talking that without cause and condition, the consciousness arises is totally wrong. The Buddha gave the evidence. Okay, so keep going the step by step arising of the consciousness. And when the second jhana arises, he remain in there. He remain in the stage of second jhana. During that time, the former first jhana consciousness vanish and disappear. And the second jhana arises. Here, as I say, the samadhi refers to the point of concentration. And this refers to the second jhana, consciousness and perception arise through the training. And when it arises, the first jhana state disappear. It is just like if you step on the second step or staircase, and you have to let's say that release stepping on the first step or staircase. So keep going, like this, and then when he attained the third jhana and second jhana vanish and third jhana remain. So the arising and persons will come through the training. The training itself is cause and condition. So it's called the Upekkha Sukha. In detail, if you like to know about all the equanimities and happiness like this is about talking about the deeper knowledge to describe in detail about the arising of the silent jhana consciousness. It will need more times. That's why I emphasize on the sutta teaching, the mainly focus on the main course of the teaching. So I will not explain in detail how it's happening. So if you are interested in what is the first jhana and second jhana and third jhana, then you need to learn more. Okay, so for the arising of fourth material jhana, five material jhana, and then the third jhana disappear. And when the immaterial jhana arise, all the jhana related to the materiality, or the consciousness related to the materiality, they disappear. So the first arupa jhana, akasa nanjayana, arise. So in this case, because this is arupa, not related to the materiality, when the meditator practice to attain this, and his focus is on the sphere of infinite space. Infinite space. This is called the conventional one, panyati, not the ultimate reality. So this is not materiality, and this just called the panyati. And okay, so focusing on the space concept, and he attained the jhana that is called arupa jhana, first arupa jhana, and keep practicing and focusing on the infinite consciousness, and he attained the second arupa jhana, second immaterial jhana. And at the arising of second immaterial jhana, the first immaterial jhana disappear. So this keep improving the arising of perception through training, and passes away through training. Then again, so the third one, so focusing on the nothingness, this also concept, focusing on the concept panyati, and he attained the third immaterial jhana, which is called akinjanyayana jhana. And then the last stage is just is shortened, because remember, this is not just describing the attainment of jhana. This refers to the temporary extinction of consciousness, which is called nirodha. So after attainment of that arupa jhana, he keep practicing in order to attain the cessation, or in order to attain the statement or extinction of consciousness. Then, so he thought that this is very subtle and very high perception, because this level, standing on this, and it keep continuing, and then it's going to reach to the cessation. So he highest perception in the strong case. Then, so if we, make strong activities, so mistaken that make me worse, or lack of mental activity is better. He reduced the making gross effort. Making gross effort, he reduced, and he make more subtle effort. Then here, that at that time, and because he is very skillfully balancing the practice of making effort, and that's why when the former perception of jhana, sanya, jhana consciousness, the third jhana, seeks, and also it does not drop into the causal perception, which refers to the bhavanga perception. So bhavanga perception, so this will be very complicated if you don't have any Abhidhamma knowledge. It is hard to understand what is causal perception and what is the jhana perception here. Okay. Anyhow, he is continuing practicing the practice of jhana. So here, the third jhana considers as the highest perception in that case, and moving forward to the highest stage, and not letting the grosser perception arise, because it's moving forward to the subtler and subtler, step by step. Then he's thinking that, suppose I was not thinking of emerging. So he keep his mental state, he managed through the practice, his mental state to be in neither things nor emerging. Then after that, going through the fourth, fourth immaterial jhana for a moment, then it continued to the succession, drop into succession. Then it temporarily, completely, extinction come, succession come. That time, no more consciousness, no more perception, and arise during that time, and that is called the nirodha. What they are talking about, according to the concentration practice. So through the practice, this kind of succession, or we can say that a successive, continuous, step-by-step, continuous, the succession of the perception or consciousness also happen. Finally, it reached to the nirodha, which is called temporary, completely succession of the consciousness during the lifetime, happen through the practice. So here in this sutta, Buddha mentioned how to get into the succession. So here in this case, we have to understand, according to the Buddhist teaching, the arising of mentalities and materiality is under the range of suffering. As long as they are arising, and we are kind of conditioned suffering through the conditioning process. So if the consciousness is not arising, so it's stopped for a while. So inside, during the period of the succession or extinction of the consciousness, it is a kind of liberation, temporary liberation from suffering. That's why through the practice, the Buddhists is, the noble people, noble person, they enjoy their temporary succession of mentality through the practice. But it's not easy to get into this succession stage. So you need to practice all kinds of jhana to be expert, to be mastery, and also need to attain the certain level of enlightenment or the third or fourth stage of enlightenment. Then in combination of this power, concentration and insight knowledge, he can get into the attainment of succession and to enjoy the temporary liberation from the conditioned suffering. Okay, so this is how the Buddha mentioned the successive step of extinction happen through the practice. Then the Buddha asked to the Buddha whether he have ever heard about this. Then the Buddha said, no, as I understand, the law has said, that is, when you explain and I have heard, and before that I never heard of this, and he admit. And also he like to confirm whether these statements are correct or not, and he repeated all. Then the Buddha said, that is right, you have heard from me. Then, so he has a question. Okay, so in this successive steps of extension of the consciousness of the perception, you mentioned a lot. So according to your teaching, the summit of perception is just one, or there is many? He asked a question, that follow-up question, and just one or many. And Buddha's answer is, one and many, like just one and many. Sometimes we say just one, and sometimes I say the many. Here we can understand, because the different kinds of meditation object, if we say, this a perception arise and cease, successively according to this meditation object and that meditation object. In this way, there's many perception. We can recognize as many perception. But finally, if we make the conclusion, okay, perception is perception, although they arise and pass away according to different kinds of meditation objects, but perception is perception. That perception shares the characteristic of the perceiving or recognizing the object. So if we make the conclusion through the characteristic, shared characteristic, it is only one. That's why Buddha mentioned, okay, one and many. Then, so Buddha said, okay, succession of each perception, and I teach both one and many. Then Buddha have the follow-up question, because he has learned how the practitioner or how the individual go into the state of extinction or state of succession through the practice. He has learned just now from the Buddha, and he know, okay, so if he already get into the temporary extinction of mentality, what about when he emerge from that stage? Okay, in that case, he cannot understand the perception arise or the knowledge arise fast, or they arise together at the same time simultaneously. He asked the question to the Buddha, and in this case, the Buddha said, when that person emerged from that succession, temporary succession or extinction, and the perception arise fast, and the knowledge later. So in this case, the perception consciousness refers to the the state of fruition. Actually, I don't want to give so many information to misunderstand. Here, the perception and knowledge are different mentalities. So in that case, the consciousness arises at the moment. After that, the reflection knowledge follow. So in this case, Buddha mentioned, so when the person emerged from the state of succession, the consciousness arises first. That time he cannot reflect on that. Later on, he reflect, I was entering to the state of succession, and he reflect on that. That is called the Paccavekkhana Jnana, the reflecting knowledge. So giving this answer to the Buddhapada, and Buddha made the conclusion. So that's condition and knowledge arise. So the consciousness or perception arise first, and that condition, that due to that, and the reflection knowledge arise. Okay, so for the first part of the Buddhapada Sutta, I'm going to stop here. And what we have studied in this Sutta is just learning the outline of the Sutta and the Buddha's conversation with these with the Buddhapada, and also the wanderers are listening their conversation. Before the Buddha came into their place, and they were having the Tiricana Gatha, so undefined conversation in 27 kinds. And yeah, so we can understand what kind of conversation is low value in Buddhist practice and what kind is high value. Okay, thank you very much for attention. And yeah, please go ahead to Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Sarah, thank you very much for today's teaching.